She was sent to spy on him, but after one kiss, she claimed him as her life partner asterisk, the assignment that changed everything. Captain Zara Voss adjusted her earpiece as she stepped into the crowded Earth colony marketplace on Kepler 442b. The mission. Briefing had been clear. Infiltrate, observe, and report back on the human settlement's defensive capabilities. Her people, the Crystalline Dominion, needed to understand human military strength before making their next diplomatic move. The humans fascinated her species. Unlike the cold, calculating nature of her own people, humans seemed to operate on pure emotion and instinct. They laughed loudly, argued passionately, and somehow managed to thrive in the most impossible situations. The Dominion's High Council called it primitive behavior, but Zara found herself oddly curious about their ways. She had spent weeks perfecting her human disguise. Advanced biomimicry technology allowed her to appear completely human, though she had to concentrate to maintain the illusion. Her naturally silver skin now appeared tanned, her crystalline eyes now a warm brown, and her pointed ears rounded to match human anatomy. The marketplace buzzed with activity. Vendors called out their wares, while children ran between the stalls, their laughter echoing off the dome walls that protected the colony from the planet's harsh atmosphere. Zara noted the defensive positions, counting security checkpoints and analyzing patrol patterns, all while pretending to browse local crafts. That's when she saw him. Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison stood near the central fountain, his dark hair catching the artificial sunlight as he helped an elderly woman carry her shopping bags. There was something different about him, something that made Zara pause mid-step. He moved with quiet confidence, his green eyes alert but kind as he listened to the woman's stories about her grandchildren. According to her intelligence files, Morrison was the colony's head of security, a decorated veteran who had earned his position through countless acts of bravery. What the files hadn't mentioned was the way he seemed to genuinely care about every person in the colony, treating each citizen like family. Zara found herself walking toward him, her mission temporarily forgotten. She bumped into a fruit vendor's display, sending apples rolling across the ground. Before she could react, Jake was there, helping her gather the scattered fruit. "Careful there," he said with a warm smile that made something flutter in Zara's chest. "These Terran apples are worth their weight in credits out here." Their hands touched as they both reached for the same apple, and Zara felt an electric shock run through her system. For a moment, her biomimicry flickered, and she was certain he would see through her disguise. But Jake just continued smiling, his eyes crinkling at the corners. "I'm Jake," he said, extending his hand. "Zara," she replied, taking his hand in hers. The contact sent another jolt through her nervous system, stronger this time. "Haven't seen you around before." "New arrival on the morning transport?" She nodded, not trusting her voice. The lie came easily. "Just transferred from the Mars colonies. Engineering specialist." "Well, welcome to Paradise Station," Jake laughed. "Though I suppose paradise is relative when you're living under a dome on an alien world." As they talked, Zara found herself genuinely enjoying the conversation. Jake was intelligent, funny, and possessed a natural charm that had nothing to do with manipulation or calculation. He spoke about the colony with obvious pride, describing the community they had built and the challenges they had overcome together. Hours passed without Zara realizing it. She learned about Jake's morning routine of checking on the elderly residents, his evening habit of reading stories to the colony's children, and his dream of one day seeing Earth's natural blue skies. In return, she found herself sharing carefully crafted stories about her fictional life on Mars, surprised by how easily the words flowed as the artificial sun began to set, painting the dome in shades of orange and pink. Jake walked her to the residential district. At her assigned quarters, he paused. "Would you like to have dinner tomorrow? There's this little place that serves the best synthetic pasta this side of Alpha Centauri. Zara's training screamed at her to decline, to maintain professional distance. Instead, she heard herself saying, "I'd love to." That night, alone in her temporary quarters, Zara stared at the ceiling and wondered what she was doing. She had a mission to complete, reports to file, and a people counting on her intelligence gathering. But all she could think about was Jake's smile and the way her heart had raced when he touched her hand. Discovering the human heart, the next evening arrived faster than Zara had expected. She spent the day conducting surveillance, mapping the colony's defensive systems, and cataloging their military assets. But her heart wasn't in the work. Every task felt mechanical, a sharp contrast to the anticipation building in her chest as dinner time approached. Jake had chosen a small restaurant, tucked away in the colony's entertainment district. The establishment, called the Cosmic Diner, was nothing like the sterile feeding chambers of her home world. Warm lighting cast dancing shadows on the walls, and the air was filled with the sound of conversation and laughter. "I hope you don't mind casual," Jake said as they were seated at a corner table. "This place might not look like much, but Maria makes the best food in the colony." Zara looked around, taking in the mismatched furniture and hand-painted murals depicting Earth landscapes. "It's perfect," she said, and meant it. As they ate, Jake told her about his journey to the colony. He had been a military pilot during the resource wars, flying dangerous missions to protect supply convoys. After the wars ended, he had volunteered for the colonial program, seeking a fresh start among the stars. "What made you leave Earth?" Zara asked, genuinely curious. Jake's expression grew thoughtful. "I wanted to be part of something bigger than myself. The colonial program represented hope, you know. The chance to build something new, something better." His words struck Zara unexpectedly. Her own people had lost that sense of hope generations ago. The crystalline dominion was built on efficiency and logical expansion, not dreams and aspirations. "What about you?" Jake asked. "What brought you to the colonies?" Zara hesitated, her cover story ready on her lips. But looking into Jake's honest eyes, she found herself sharing something closer to the truth. "I was searching for something I couldn't find at home. Purpose, maybe, or just a different way of seeing the universe." The conversation flowed naturally as they shared stories about their respective homes. Zara carefully described the Mars colonies, painting pictures of red landscapes and domed cities that bore suspicious resemblance to our actual homeworld. Jake listened intently, asking thoughtful questions that showed he truly cared about her answers. After dinner, Jake suggested a walk through the colony's central garden. The space was a miracle of human ingenuity, a carefully maintained ecosystem that provided both food and beauty. Bioluminescent plants from various worlds created a tapestry of soft colors in the artificial twilight. "This is my favorite place in the colony," Jake admitted as they walked along a winding path. "When things get stressful, I come here to remember why we're doing all this." "Building a new world, is that important to you?" Zara asked. "It's everything," Jake replied with conviction. "We're not just surviving out here. We're proving that humans can adapt, can thrive anywhere. Every day we make this place better. We're showing the universe that we deserve our place among the stars." His passion was infectious. Zara found herself seeing the colony through his eyes, appreciating not just its strategic value, but its human story. These people had traveled impossible distances to build something beautiful in the darkness of space. They stopped beside a fountain where Earth roses bloomed alongside alien flowers. The mixing of species created something entirely new, something that shouldn't have worked, but somehow did. "Zara," Jake said softly, turning to face her. "I know. This might seem fast, but I feel like I've been waiting my whole life to meet someone like you." Her breath caught as he stepped closer. She should have pulled away, should have remembered her mission and her duty to the Dominion. Instead, she found herself leaning toward him, drawn by something stronger than logic or training. When their lips met, the world exploded. The kiss was gentle at first, questioning. But as Zara responded, it deepened into something that shook her to her core. In that moment, her biomimicry completely failed. Her skin shimmered back to its natural silver, her eyes blazed with crystalline light, and her ears resumed their pointed shape. Jake pulled back, his eyes wide with shock. For a heartbeat that felt like eternity, they stared at each other in silence. "You're not human," he whispered. Zara's training kicked in. She should run, activate her emergency beacon, abort the mission. Instead, she stood frozen, waiting for his reaction. Jake reached out slowly, his fingers tracing the silver patterns on her cheek. "You're beautiful," he said simply. The acceptance in his voice broke something inside her. Years of conditioning, of loyalty to the Dominion's cause, crumbled in the face of one human's unconditional acceptance. "I was sent to spy on you," she confessed, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "My people wanted intelligence about your defenses, your capabilities." Jake's hand didn't move from her face. Was any of it real? "Today, yesterday, this, all of it," Zara said fiercely. "Everything I felt, everything I told you about searching for purpose, it was all real." Jake smiled then, that same warm expression. That had first captured her attention. Then that's all that matters. The choice between worlds the following days passed in a blur of stolen moments and growing connection. Zara found herself living two lives. By day, she continued her surveillance mission, filing reports with the Dominion about human defensive capabilities. By night, she explored the colony with Jake, learning about human culture and finding herself falling deeper in love with both the man and his people. Jake had kept her secret, but Zara could see the questions in his eyes. He wanted to understand her world, her people, and why she had been sent to spy on his colony. She answered what she could, carefully editing the truth to protect both sides. The crystalline Dominion, she explained, was a peaceful civilization that valued knowledge and order. They were considering formal contact with humanity, but needed to understand human society first. It wasn't entirely a lie, though it omitted the Dominion's true intentions of determining whether humans posed a threat worth eliminating. "Your people sound fascinating," Jake said one evening as they watched the artificial sunset from his apartment balcony. "I'd love to meet them someday." Zara's stomach clenched. If the Dominion proceeded with their plan, there would be no meetings, no cultural exchange, only conquest or destruction. "Jake," she began carefully, "what if my people weren't as peaceful as I described? What if they saw humanity as a threat?" He was quiet for a long moment, his arm tightening around her shoulders. "Then I suppose we'd have to prove them wrong. Humans are good at changing minds when we need to." His confidence was both endearing and heartbreaking. Zara knew the Dominion's military might, their cold efficiency in dealing with perceived threats. Humanity's passion and determination wouldn't be enough against their advanced technology. That night, Zara received a priority communication from her handler, Commander Krell Vex. His crystalline features appeared in her quarters holographic display, his expression as cold as always. "Agent Voss, your reports have been ... concerning. You've provided tactical information, but little strategic analysis. The High Council requires a comprehensive assessment of human combat capabilities within 48 hours. Sir, the humans pose minimal threat," Zara reported. "Their technology is inferior, their military scattered across multiple colonies. They focus more on exploration and settlement than warfare." "That is not the analysis we require," Vex replied curtly. "The humans' rapid expansion and adaptive capabilities suggest they could become a significant threat given time. We need detailed information about their command structure, their fastest ships, their most dangerous weapons." Zara's mouth went dry. "Commander, Are we moving to the elimination phase? That determination will be made by the High Council based on your final report. Do not disappoint us, Agent Voss. The transmission ended, leaving Zara alone with the weight of her people's expectations and her own growing doubts. She had 48 hours to provide information that could doom the human colony. Could doom Jake. The next day, Jake noticed her distraction immediately. During their usual morning walk through the marketplace, he gently pulled her aside. "Something's wrong," he said simply. "You've been distant since yesterday." Zara looked into his concerned eyes and made a decision. That would change everything. "Jake, I need to tell you something important. Can we go somewhere private?" They returned to his apartment, where Zara's biomimicry finally failed completely under the stress. Her true form shimmered into view, and she told Jake everything. About the Dominion's expansion policy, about their fear of humanity's potential, about the choice she now faced between her duty and her heart. Jake listened without interruption, his expression growing more serious with each revelation. When she finished, he was quiet for a long time. "So your people are planning to destroy the colony," he said finally. "Not just the colony," Zara whispered. "If they determine humans are a threat, they'll target all human settlements. They have the power to do it, Jake. My people have been expanding across the galaxy for millennia." Jake stood and began pacing, his military training evident as he processed the threat. "How long do we have?" "I don't know. It depends on what I report back to them." He stopped pacing and looked at her directly. "What are you going to report?" The question hung in the air between them. Zara felt the weight of two civilizations resting on her shoulders. If she reported human weakness, her people would invade and conquer. If she reported human strength, they would strike first and strike hard. "I don't know," she admitted. "Both choices lead to the same outcome." Jake crossed the room and took her hands in his. "Then maybe we need to create a third choice." "What do you mean?" "You said your people value knowledge and order. What if we could show them that humans aren't a threat, but an opportunity? What if we could prove that cooperation benefits both sides more than conquest?" Zara shook her head. "Lee, Dominion doesn't cooperate. They absorb or eliminate." "Every rule has exceptions," Jake said with growing excitement. "Every empire that's lasted has learned to adapt. Maybe it's time your people learned something new." His optimism was infectious, but Zara knew the reality of her situation. Even if that were possible, who would listen to one agent's recommendation? Jake smiled, that same expression that had first captured her heart. Who said anything about one agent? What if you had a human ambassador backing up your report? The idea was insane, impossible, and exactly the kind of bold plan that might actually work. Zara found herself considering it seriously. "It would be incredibly dangerous," she warned. "My people don't react well to surprises." "Then we'll just have to make sure it's a good surprise," Jake replied. "Besides, someone once told me that humans are good at changing minds when we need to." The diplomatic gamble 24 hours later. Zara stood in the colony's communication center, her hands trembling as she prepared to transmit what might be the most important message in human history. Jake stood beside her, wearing his dress uniform and an expression of calm determination that she envied. "Are you sure about this?" she asked one final time. "Absolutely not," Jake replied with a grin. "But that's never stopped humans before." Zara activated the quantum communication array, sending a priority message to Commander Vex. Instead of her expected report, she requested an immediate conference with the High Council, claiming to have information of critical importance that required direct testimony. The response came within hours. The Dominion flagship would arrive at the colony in 3 days. Zara was ordered to have her final report ready and to prepare for immediate extraction. Those 3 days passed like a fever. Dream. Jake worked with Colony Administrator Davis to prepare for the most unusual diplomatic encounter in human history, while Zara coached him on Dominion protocol and culture. The colony's population remained unaware of the approaching crisis, going about their daily lives while their fate hung in the balance. "Remember, don't show aggression or fear," Zara instructed as they reviewed his presentation one final time. "The Dominion respects strength, but they're threatened by violence. And whatever happens, I need to prove that humans can be valuable." "Allies," Jake nodded. "Show them what we can offer, rather than what we might take." The morning of the third day, sensors detected the Dominion flagship dropping out of hyperspace. The massive vessel was a work of art and engineering, its crystalline hull refracting the system's sunlight into rainbow patterns. It dwarfed every human ship in the system combined. Not a shuttle launched from the flagship, and Zara felt her stomach clench as familiar figures emerged onto the colony's landing pad. Commander Vex led the delegation, flanked by two High Council members she recognized: Counselor Thara Zine, known for her strategic brilliance, and Counselor Morquez, whose reputation for cold efficiency was legendary even among the Dominion. "Agent Voss." Vex's mental projection crackled with disapproval as he took in her undisguised appearance. "Explain this irregularity." "Commander, with respect, I believe the situation requires immediate council attention," Zara replied formally. "I have discovered information that could fundamentally alter our approach to the human question." Counselor Zinn's multifaceted eyes studied Jake with obvious curiosity. "This is the human you mentioned in your request?" "Lieutenant Commander Jake Morrison, head of security for Paradise Station," Zara confirmed. "He has requested permission to address the council directly." "Impossible," Vex snapped. "Humans do not address the High Council." "With respect," Jake stepped forward, his voice steady despite the obvious tension. "Maybe it's time to start." The boldness of his statement created a moment of shocked silence. Counselor Kess's crystalline features shifted through several colors, indicating deep thought. "You presume much, human," Kess said finally. "What could your primitive species possibly offer the Dominion?" Jake had prepared for this question, and his answer was both humble and confident. "Perspective, Counselor. Your people have achieved remarkable things through logic and efficiency, but humans offer something different: adaptability, creativity, and the ability to find solutions in impossible situations." "Pretty words," Zinn observed. "But we require evidence, not philosophy." Jake nodded and gestured toward the colony around them. "Then let me show you what human primitiveness has accomplished." What followed was the most important tour in galactic history. Jake led the Dominion delegation through Paradise Station, explaining not just what humans had built, but how and why they had built it. He showed them the fusion reactors that converted the planet's hostile atmosphere into breathable air, the vertical farms that produced food in impossible conditions, and the schools where human children learned alongside young colonists from a dozen different species. At each stop, Jake emphasized not human superiority, but human cooperation. He showed them the Altarian engineers who had helped design the water recycling systems, the Centauri merchants who had negotiated fair trade agreements, and the vegan medics who had shared their healing techniques. "Humans don't just survive," Jake explained as they watched children from multiple species playing together in the colony's central park. "We build communities. We take what others offer and make it better, and then we share those improvements with everyone." Counselor Zinn studied a group of human and alien children working together on a school project. "Interesting. Your species forms symbiotic relationships rather than hierarchical ones." "We call it friendship," Jake replied simply. The tour continued through the colony's research facilities, where human scientists worked alongside alien colleagues on projects ranging from terraforming technology to interstellar communication improvements. Each example reinforced Jake's central argument. Humans weren't a threat to be eliminated, but a catalyst that made everyone around them stronger. As the day progressed, Zara watched the council members' reactions carefully. Vex remained skeptical, his rigid mind struggling to process information that didn't fit established patterns. But Zin and Kess showed growing interest, their questions becoming more thoughtful and less hostile. The decisive moment came during dinner at the Cosmic Diner. Maria, the restaurant's owner, had prepared a feast that showcased the best of human and alien cuisines. As the delegation sampled dishes that would have been impossible without interspecies cooperation, the conversation shifted from interrogation to genuine curiosity. "Your Agent Voss," Counselor Kess said suddenly, addressing Jake directly. "She has changed since arriving here. Her reports show emotional contamination that would normally result in reconditioning." Jake's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "Zara hasn't been contaminated. She's been awakened. Your people sent her to spy on us, but instead she discovered something your empire has forgotten. Which is, that strength doesn't come from conquest or efficiency. It comes from connection, from choosing to trust others even when it's dangerous." The table fell silent. Zara held her breath, waiting for the explosion of outrage she was certain would follow. Instead, Counselor Zin laughed. The sound was like crystal chimes in a gentle breeze, beautiful and utterly unexpected. "Commander Morrison," she said, "you have given us much to consider. We will deliberate tonight and provide our decision tomorrow." The bond that saved two worlds, the night of deliberation, felt endless. Zara paced her quarters while Jake sat quietly on his balcony, both of them acutely aware that the future of humanity might be decided in the next few hours. The Dominion delegation had retired to their shuttle for private consultation, and the colony held its breath. "Do you think it worked?" Jake asked as Zara joined him under the artificial stars. "I don't know," she admitted. Counselor Zin seemed interested, and Kess was asking thoughtful questions. But Vex doesn't trust change," Jake finished. "I've met officers like him. They see the universe in terms of clear categories: allies, enemies, and resources to be managed." Zara leaned against the balcony railing, her crystalline skin catching the starlight. "There's something else, Jake. Even if the Council decides to spare humanity, my position is compromised. They'll never trust me again." Jake was quiet for a moment, then took her hand in his. "Then don't go back." "What?" "Stay here. With me. Build a life in the colony." The offer was tempting, but Zara shook her head. "My people need voices for change, too. Someone has to keep arguing for cooperation over conquest." "Then we'll figure out a way to do both," Jake said with characteristic optimism. "Long-distance relationships are hard, but we've got faster-than-light communication now." Despite everything, Zara smiled. "You make it sound so simple." "Love is simple," Jake replied. "It's everything else that's complicated." The morning brought Commander Vex's summons. The Council had reached their decision and required both Zara and Jake's presence aboard the flagship. As they boarded the shuttle that would take them to their fate, Jake squeezed Zara's hand. "Whatever happens, I want you to know that meeting you changed my life," he said quietly. "Mine too," Zara replied. "No matter what the Council decides." The Dominion flagship's interior was as impressive as its exterior, all flowing curves and crystalline surfaces that seemed to generate their own light. They were escorted to the council chamber, a vast space where the three counselors sat in judgment. "We have deliberated through the night," Counselor Zin announced without preamble. "The evidence presented has been illuminating." "Commander." Vex stepped forward. "The human colony represents a clear example of rapid adaptation and expansion. Left unchecked, their species could indeed become a threat to Dominion interests." Jake's hand tightened around Zara's, but neither spoke. However, Counselor Kess continued, we have also observed their remarkable ability to foster cooperation between species. This presents an opportunity we had not previously considered. The High Council has decided to authorize a limited experiment, Zin announced. A formal cultural exchange program between the Dominion and select human colonies. We will share certain technologies in exchange for human insights into interspecies cooperation. Jake blinked in surprise. You're serious? Quite serious, Kess replied. Your species has achieved in decades what we have struggled with for centuries. Perhaps it is time for the Dominion to learn something new. Vex clearly disapproved, but said nothing, his loyalty to the Council overriding his personal opinions. There are conditions, Zin continued. The exchange will be supervised by a joint committee. Agent Voss will serve as the Dominion's primary liaison, working closely with a human counterpart to ensure mutual understanding. Zara's heart leaped. Counselor, I accept the assignment. And I volunteer to serve as the human liaison, Jake added quickly. Anticipated, Kess said with what might have been amusement. Your personal investment in the program's success has been noted. 6 months later, Zara stood in the observation deck of the joint research station that had become the symbol of Dominion human cooperation. The facility orbited between the two civilizations' territories, a marvel of combined engineering that neither species could have built alone. Jake joined her at the viewing port, slipping his arms around her waist as they watched the dance of construction ships building new modules onto the ever-expanding station. A council approved the marriage proposal, Zara said, unable to keep the smile from her voice. And the colony administrator says the human delegation is excited to attend our wedding. Jake replied, pressing a kiss to her temple. Though I think Maria is more excited about catering a ceremony for crystalline beings. They watched in comfortable silence as a group of human and Dominion children played in the station's recreational area, their laughter echoing through the corridors without regard for species differences. Do you ever regret it? Jake asked quietly. Choosing this path instead of your original mission. Zara turned in his arms, meeting his eyes with absolute certainty. Never. I was sent to spy on humanity, but instead I found something better than any intelligence report could provide. What's that? Home, she said simply, before kissing the man who had changed not just her life, but the course of galactic history. The marriage between Agent Zara Voss and Commander Jake Morrison became the foundation of the most successful interspecies alliance in recorded history. Their love story was told across both civilizations, proof that sometimes the greatest victories come not from conquest, but from the courage to choose connection over conflict. And in the years that followed, as human creativity merged with Dominion efficiency to explore new worlds and solve impossible challenges, historians would mark their first kiss as the moment when two civilizations learned that their greatest strength lay not in their differences, but in their willingness to build bridges across the vast darkness between the stars.